glad you guys made it out. So I do things a little bit differently, right? I know that one thing you guys love is to sit and be talked at, so I don't do it that way. This is very interactive, okay? I'm gonna walk you guys through a little bit of what my life looked like and where I'm at today. And please feel free to stop me, ask any questions, or if you have any discussion points along the way, just raise your hand or scream out at me, whatever. There's not a lot of us, and we can stop and chat about it. Sound good? Okay? So essentially, all this is I want you guys to understand that if I did it, you can too, right? Believe it or not, I used to be your age. I used to be sitting there. Do you guys all attend high school here? No? But you're all in high school, right? Yeah? Are you in high school? You're about to start. Excellent. Good. So you'll see what I was going through as I was about to start high school, okay? There's little old me, right? In the back. So all these pictures you're going to see are actually me, right? There I am, as you can see, I'm not very much participating here with these other kids. So I was born and raised, if you look directly behind you, at Poland there, in a city called Gdańsk, right on the Baltic Sea, big city, okay? That's where I am in this picture. At the time, Poland was still communist. In the 80s was not a good place to be, okay? It was communist occupied. It was a struggle. Not for me, but for my parents, right? I lived in a tiny apartment, mom, dad, grandmother, baby brother. Our apartment was actually an old army barracks that had been taken over by the German army during World War II. After World War II, we got the privilege of moving back into those army barracks, okay? So we were in a tiny little place. My dad, Polish, born and raised in the city where I was born and raised. My mother was a Russian immigrant, okay? So she came over from Russia to be with my father in Poland, and she was going through her own struggles. She left her family behind. She had to learn a new language and new cultures. And you'll see it's funny how history repeats itself. That's essentially what I went through growing up, okay? So, now this point here, of use in kindergarten and first grade, you'll see why I'm like this. And that goes with, we all poop. Shouldn't do it in your pants, right? Pretty funny right now, but back then it wasn't, because I'm willing to bet you that in this picture, I had a pants full of poop, okay? And so what we're going to talk about here is coping mechanisms, right? We all have coping mechanisms to deal with things. My coping mechanism back then, because of the abuse I suffered at the hands of this fine lady here, my first coping mechanism was to crap my pants, right? Thus, I wouldn't be touched, I wouldn't be paid attention to, and I'd be brushed off to the side, okay? My parents, as I said, because we were in communist Poland, we had struggles of their own, right? So I was on the back burner, okay? Now, while we were out here, or living in Poland, there was a plan in place by my parents for us to move to the United States of America for a better life, right? Land of the free, home of the brave, opportunity. That's what my parents wanted for me and my brother. Now, at that age, I had no idea of this plan, what the route would be, how we would get there, and what that would look like for me, right? When you're a kid, you think to yourself, the way that my life looks, that's essentially how life is for all kids, right? So lo and behold, we moved to Germany a few years later, okay? That was our next stop. So the way that it looked is, my parents decided to move to the United States. Back then, in order to get to the United States, you had to stop over in another country, wait for permission, and then come over to the United States, okay? So the country that we were sent to was Germany, right next door to Poland there, okay? In a city called Stuttgart. We arrived there, welcome to Germany. Where am I and why? No idea. Nobody talked to me about it, right? My parents didn't sit me down and go, hey, we're planning on going to the United States. How do you feel about it, right? So all of a sudden, I'm in Germany. I don't speak the language. No problem. We'll figure it out, right? Kids, what do they say about kids? They absorb languages, right? Like sponges. It's true. When you're a kid, You learn languages quickly. Ask me to learn a language now, not have, okay? So, that was the thought process. Stick him in school, he'll learn the language, he'll adjust, right? My parents, where are they at? They're out working hard. My father was working illegally. My mother was doing her best to keep me, my little brother, in line and helping out as much as she could. And so I'm off on my own, not speaking the language, not knowing really where I'm at, completely different culture, in a school system where I meet one friend. I make one friend, right? Right here. And what happens with this guy? His mother had been abusing him for years. And now she had a little immigrant boy to play with as well, right? So that was my situation. Now, I didn't know the language. I didn't know the culture. Shame, afraid to speak up. Parents aren't around. Who am I going to talk to? Nobody, right? I'm on my own. I'm on my own. So it wasn't easy. So what was my next coping mechanism? We're on to the next coping mechanism, right? Running around, sticking my hands everywhere they didn't belong. If I told, there's places that I went to that I can't tell you about. But I went to places where an 8, 9, 10-year-old shouldn't go, right? I used to break into honey factories, steal honey because I was hungry, right? I used to run around in the woods, go into old World War II bunkers. You can imagine who lived in old World War II bunkers back in the late 80s, early 90s. Not good people, okay? So this is what I was doing. And as I started learning the language and understanding the culture and starting to make connections and starting to feel like I was a part of something again, we up and moved again, right? Because this wasn't our final destination. And once again, my parents didn't sit me down and say, hey, we're headed to the United States, how do you feel about it? Do you want to stay here? Or, this wasn't up for discussion. And away we go. Land of the free, we made it, right? So what happens? I got to start over again. New language, new culture, no friends, nothing. We're starting all over again, okay? Parents, again, non-existent. We moved it to Chicago, and the way my life looked, okay, you can see here I took care of my little brother at night. He was 5 at the time. My parents would go to work in the morning. I would be sent off to school, where it became a boxing arena for me. Next coping mechanism. Now I'm acting out by fighting, okay? I can wholeheartedly tell you that through my elementary school years, up until the 8th grade, there was maybe 1 or 2 days out of the week where I was not in a fist fight. Maybe, okay? This was my next coping mechanism. Because my parents were not around. My parents were working during the day. My brother was being watched by someone. I was off at school, pretending to be Rocky Balboa. You guys know who that guy is? Good. All right? And then I'd come home from school, and then my parents would feed us real quick, and then they'd go clean an office building all night. Guess who's in charge of watching a 5-year-old in the city of Chicago without knowing the language or what's going on out there? This guy, right? Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. So I'd be at home in the middle of the night watching Roseanne, who helped me to learn to speak the language, by the way, great role model. Watching late night sitcoms is how I learned to speak English. And my parents would come home in the morning. I'd get a couple hours of sleep because I was relieved they're home. Finally, I'm safe. And off to school we go again, right? To do what? Fight. Now, here's an important thing I wanted to tell you about. Just a quick little anecdote. I figured out in Chicago public schools at the time that if you didn't show up first bell, they locked the doors, okay? You can't come in. You're late, you're done. You have no school. So I would saunter to school, nice and easy, and show up conveniently late. Okay? Thus, can't get into school, I have no school. I'd go home, tell my mom, they close the doors. I can't get in. My mom wasn't a stupid lady, she figured it out pretty quick, but what was my mom's response? Rather than talking about it and asking why am I taking my time to get to school? What's going on in school? What is the reasoning behind you not wanting to be at school? My mom's idea was that she would lock me out on the porch, on the back porch, right? If you're not going to school, you're not going in the house, and I would sit on the back porch, okay, for days on end. Nothing to eat, just hanging out. School would be over, my mom would come home, she'd let me in, because somebody's got to watch baby brother, and off to work they went, right? And coping continued, fighting, okay? So next, started doing a little better in life, my parents did, so they moved us to the suburbs, right? I moved to a suburb called Des Plaines, I don't know if you guys are familiar, yeah? And so we moved to Des Plaines, and I went to an elementary school called North School, right? Problem is, I'm an immigrant kid, I can't say North, I say North School, right? I'm still learning the language, so what continues? Acting out, fighting, in order to keep attention away from me. I didn't want any attention on me, right? I didn't want people bothering me. So my way to get through that was to be a class clown, which I can tell you now as an adult, teachers love that. I have a teacher in the room, she can wholeheartedly tell you, don't do that. Okay? But that's what I did. I was a class clown, and all I did was fight. Fight, fight, fight. What happened? Still learning the language, hard time making friends, no connection to positive role models whatsoever, because I'm afraid to talk to anybody. Nobody wants to talk to me because I'm the weird immigrant kid, right? We had this secretary at school who thought it would be a great idea to give me quiet time. Back then, her idea of quiet time was to stick me in a coat closet and close the door. Solitary confinement for hours at a time. Did my parents know about this? No, because they're immigrant parents, they're running around, they're working, they're busy, nobody will ever know. And nobody ever did. I spent hours upon hours in that coat closet, right? And again, afraid to speak up. And you guys are starting to see a common thread. Afraid to speak up. Afraid to say what's going on, okay? Never telling anyone. Too worried about what people would think. Too worried about the consequences. That I was doing something wrong, right? And thus I hung out with the teachers' coats. I checked their pockets. I had a lot of free gum. That was the only positive, all right? And so those were my elementary school years, right? Now, don't laugh, but I was super cool back then. This is actually me. You may know this guy in the background, okay? Junior high started, okay? I found my first real structure and accountability. I discovered basketball, okay? I was pretty decent at basketball, okay? Made the team. But what became my next coping mechanism? I became obsessive over basketball. Because this is all I had to hold on to now, right? Is this accountability and the structure of the basketball team. This was my home now. Became obsessive over what? Going pro. You know, chances of going pro in basketball are probably way more now than they were back then, right? I'm here, right? I'm not out on the road right now playing, so not so good. But that was my next coping mechanism. Obsessive. Go pro, all or nothing. This went into high school, junior high and high school, okay? High school, freshman year, I played on the varsity team, okay? So I played varsity. My day was wake up in the morning, practice with a trainer, not like the trainers you guys know now. There was a guy that helped me out before school. I would practice with him. School, which I didn't care a whole lot too much about, okay? Back to still being that class clown. Practice, and after practice, more practice on my own. Get home, weight lift, run, exercise, in bed by midnight, do it all over again the next day. Okay? Complete obsessiveness, compulsiveness. This was my life. Okay? I wanted to be this guy. Now you can argue me to death, argue with me to death, there will never be another this guy. Anybody in here talks LeBron James, we'll talk after this, alright? So, what happened? Because I was so obsessive, that's also me. Don't laugh, but this was super cool back then. Bucket hats, skateboards, right? But I wanted to show you guys this picture because I'm standing in the same spot with the same guy in the same room, okay? But look at the difference here. Different guy as far as I'm concerned, right? Why? Because my obsessiveness led me to believe that if I start playing basketball with people who are stronger, faster, bigger than me, I would get better. So I started going to hanging around parks in the city and playing with adults, okay? What do adults do after a pickup game? They usually have a couple beers, right? They hang out. So, I was quickly introduced to alcohol. A couple beers after, why not? Whoops. Okay? But what did that lead to? I'm sure you guys can imagine. Other things, but what we've been talking about, what became my new cope? Alcohol. Okay? Did I stop and talk to anyone and say, hey, I need help? I feel like basketball's taking over my life. I feel like it's too much. No, again, didn't stop to ask for help. Didn't stop to talk to anyone. Instead, I kept trying to do it on my own, right? And so now I started coping with alcohol. Why? You drink alcohol, you lose all inhibitions. You feel great. I did at least, right? Super happy, part of the group, excited to be there. Awesome. Anyone that tells you alcohol or any type of substance is not a gateway, I'm here to tell you personally, they're lying. It is. All of it is. Okay? Eventually it's going to lead to something else. I promise you. I'm standing up here telling you today, I've been there, done that. Okay? Alcohol led to other drugs. Okay? Other drugs led to other people. Not the type of people that I've been surrounding myself with when I was playing basketball. Although I had some beers after the games, at least these were guys that were into exercise somewhat, right? Now, basketball took a back seat. Skateboarding, I'm not knocking skateboarding. I also skateboarded for a while, believe it or not. Okay? Skateboarding, drugs and alcohol, and looking like this cool guy right here was on the forefront. Basketball took a back seat. And what did that lead to? I quit basketball and I dropped out of high school. You guys are looking at a high school dropout. Okay? I never graduated high school. It wasn't cool enough for me. I got a Division I basketball scholarship. Did I play Division I basketball? No, because I dropped out of high school. Because I didn't ask for help. I didn't stop to talk to anybody. Instead, I chose drugs, alcohol, and the wrong crowd. Started partying heavily. What does that lead to? Numbness, chaos, searching became my new cope. This is my new coping mechanism. I'm looking for my people. I'm looking for my home. I'm looking for love. I'm looking for anything to latch onto. Okay? And partying was the ticket. Where the party was, that's where I was. Okay? And people that you're partying with, they're all your best friends. They're all your best friends. Everybody loves everybody. But call them the next day and ask them if they remember you. I bet you they don't. Till the next party. Right? So, kind of got myself in a pickle. Got no school. Junior year, I'm a high school dropout. What am I going to do, right? What is my skill set? Who do I know? What support system do I have? None. So what did I do? When I was 21 years old, I realized that year, sitting on a balcony at 5 in the morning at a friend's house, that I'm either going to jail or I'm going to die. One of the two is going to happen that year. One of the two. So what did I do? I latched on to the next best thing. The United States military. Join the Coast Guard, right? No questions asked. I'm going to tell you guys right now. 5 a.m. I was sitting on my friend's balcony. 6 a.m. I was at home, took a shower. 7 a.m. I was at the recruiter's office, and he started giving me his spiel, and I said, no. It's all right, just tell me where to sign. No questions asked. Signed, off to boot camp I went, and I was a member of the U.S. Coast Guard. Right? Finally, again, I have structure. I have somewhere to be. Okay? Essentially, I'm told where to be. It's even easier. You got to be here and here, no questions asked. Right? But drugs and alcohol are still helping me cope while I'm in the military. Okay? I'm dealing with all of my problems that we've already talked about. They're all still up here. And I still haven't talked to anyone about them. Nobody knows what's going on up here. My brain has been wired up until this point, from the point when I was crapping my pants, right? All wrong, because I haven't talked to anyone. I haven't told anyone what's been going on. All my moves, all my obsessiveness, all the drugs, all the alcohol. So here I am in the U.S. Coast Guard, still using, drinking. 4 years are up, like this. I'm going to tell you guys something my dad told me. The older you get, the faster time flies. I thought he was full of crap. You'll see, okay? 4 years will go by in the blink of an eye. Where did I go back to? Right where I started. Where did I have to go to, right? So I was in the Coast Guard in Seattle, Washington, way over on the other side of the country, right? I could have very well stayed there, made a career and a family there, right? Nope. Came right back to Chicago. Why? That's where all my old friends were. That's where family was. That's where the good times were, right? So I came right back to where I started. Still looking for home, love, inclusion, and doing what? Drinking and using drugs, right? And the worst thing possible happened, right? That I wish never happens to anyone, okay? Led to a cry for help. It was a suicide attempt, okay? My brother found me. If my brother didn't find me, I wouldn't be here right now, okay? And now I'll tell you, this was a bad day, a really bad day, right? But it almost was a great day. Because what happened? It started me on the path to me being able to stand here today and talk to you guys. Essentially, I was reborn, right? I know it sounds cliche, but essentially I was reborn, right? And now I'm here, and I can tell you guys. If I did it, you can too. That's the whole point of this, like we said in the beginning, right? So, with that cry for help, what happened? I spoke to my first counselor. It's the first time I opened my mouth to anyone about any of the things that have been going on in my life. Do you know what a relief that was? I was 27 years old. 27 years of built up crap in my head finally came out, right? That counselor was exhausted when I walked out. I had a lot to say, all right? So I tried various counseling techniques. Mostly back then, a lot of talk therapy, okay? Talk therapy, talking it out. Something we'll talk about at the end is there's more options for you guys nowadays, but back then it was a lot more, look at me saying back then like I'm an old guy. I'm not that old. But a few years back, it was more talking, okay? And what did I realize? What did this help me do? Is that I was wired all wrong. My brain was wired all wrong from the beginning because of the things that happened to me and because I never stopped to ask for help and tell somebody of the things that were going on with me, right? And so then I started working on who? On me, right? This is super important, guys. Started working on me. I'm going to stand up here and I'm going to tell you right now, there is nobody in this room, in this building, in this world that is more important than you are to yourself. Nobody. Okay? Because if you're not okay, nothing and no one in your life is going to be okay. All right? First and foremost, you need to be okay. All right? This is super important to me. Me. Remember, me. As far as your mental health goes and the rest of your life, what's going on up here for you is the most important thing. Okay? So, start working on me. Things that are super important to me and that worked for me, okay? Mindfulness, yoga, and reading. Believe it or not, I'm a super nerd now. I love reading. Love reading. Okay? Mindfulness, I don't know how familiar you guys are, but I happen to have an expert in the room, and if you would like, she'd be happy to tell you more about it after this. There she is. Okay? Also yoga. There she is. Okay? And I'm picking on her because there's resources, which is also what we're going to get to. Okay? These are things that are important to me, and these are things that have helped me. Okay? So remember, it's you. What helps you? And whatever that is, grab it, hold on to it, chase it, let it help you. Okay? Because internal happiness and surrounding yourself with the right people are your keys to success. Okay? I'm sure you guys have heard the quote. If you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You guys heard that quote before? Yeah. Okay? Obviously, it doesn't pertain to every situation in life, but overall, always look around. Like I picked the wrong crowd of people, right? Where did it lead me? Nowhere good. Always be aware of your environment. Who are you in a room with? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Okay? And if you're the best person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You got to go find another room. Okay? That's helped me along the way. So, I love this quote. Helping one person might not change the world, but it could change the world for one person. I wish that that one person would have been there for me, right? Through my life. There's a number of people I can point to now, one in particular, okay, that are there for me now and make my life amazing. But in my younger years, that person wasn't there. Why? Because I didn't open my mouth, right? Because I didn't ask for help. No matter what it is. I just kept pushing it down, dealing with it on my own, the best way I knew how, coping, crapping my pants, fighting. Right? Later being obsessive. And then later on, alcohol, drugs. Right? But I never opened my mouth. And so I never found this hand. Okay? Which all leads to this. If I did it, you can too. I promise you. Okay? I'm telling you guys this much of my life. I promise you. If I did it, every single one of you can too. Okay? But you gotta open your mouth. You gotta talk. Okay? Please ask for help. Anything. Anything it is. Because if you let it sit and fester and build, once you get to be my age or in your 20s, in your 30s, it gets worse. Okay? Because here's what I want you guys to understand. Right now you're in high school, junior high, okay? You've got people all around you. You have resources everywhere. Everywhere. You have 1, 2, 3 in this room right now. Okay? The older you get, they'll start to fan out. Okay? The older you get, the more you get out in real life, as they call it, people don't care as much. People have their own agendas. Okay? People are harder to find. People are harder to get a hold of to help you. Okay? So whatever you have going on, speak up. Don't be afraid. Okay? I don't care what it is. Now, resources. Look at all these resources. Write these down. Okay? Why did I leave that blank? Because we live in a different time. You guys have computers in your pockets. You can find any resource, anytime. It would be a waste of my time for me to put 3 websites up here for you. You'll find them faster than I will. I don't know how these things work. Okay? But, the other reason I left that blank, put down your phones and look at what room you're in and who's in the room with you. And open your mouth. To your teacher. If your teacher can't help you, they'll point you in the right direction. If your advisor can't help you, they'll point you in the right direction. And you keep plugging away, you keep asking, right? Eventually you're going to end up at the right person, and that person's going to be a good fit for you, and that person's going to point you in the right direction. You can call me, I don't care. I'll give each and every one of you my cell phone number. You can call me any time of day or night, and we'll talk about it. Because I've been there. And it's hard to ask for help. Believe me, I still have a hard time asking for help. Okay? I'm still working on me. But ask for help. There are resources everywhere. Everywhere. Okay? So to wrap it up, this isn't a sob story. This is just crap that I went through. That's what my life looked like. I'm telling you right now, standing up here today, I am a super happy guy, super positive guy. I love my life. I love my life. Okay? But it took me very, very long to get here. And I don't want the same for you. That's why I love talking to you guys, because I've been you guys. And I know some of the stuff that you guys are going through. Maybe not, but there are similarities, okay? And so I'm begging you, ask for help. If you're having any problems, reach out to somebody. Talk it out. However slight, talk it out. There's always somebody willing to lend an ear, okay? I don't want you to go through the same stuff I went through. None of you, okay? If I can do it, you can too. Look how that fit in. All right. Good? Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it.